Hello cave dwellers, Wednesday, how are you all doing? I was hoping to show you something fun on these PCs. I'm still working through all of these IBM PCs. The last ones I need to image are here and I'm just working through them, checking the hard disks, checking the floppy disks and making a list of what's in each one so that I can get the eBay listings up. If I'd known what a big task this was, maybe I wouldn't have started it in the first place, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. We're nearly there. And on the one that I'm imaging at the moment, I discovered that even though the data was supposed to be destroyed on all of them, it booted into Windows XP with a password. So what I was hoping to do today was show you, is there anything interesting hiding on there? I got out my conboot CD to bypass the Windows password, got in there, and unfortunately it was just a fresh install for an internet cafe with, it had Chrome, it had AVG put on there. There was a little bit of internet history, but it was just a tiny amount of somebody going to their Yahoo email and checking their eBay, and that was it. There was nothing juicy or interesting, nothing in the documents folder. So a bit of an anticlimax. I would have liked to have found something interesting. It was last used in August 2009 though, so it had a really old version of Chrome, which was quite funny to see. Anyway, this is chuntering away quite noisily behind me, so I'm just going to wait for this to settle down, grab the laptop, and we're going to go down under to see Mr. Lurch's setup and cave today. So we'll just let this finish and we'll see what he's got for us.
G'day cave dwellers and welcome to my cavern, what are we calling these? Anyway, so Neil obviously put out the call for people to show off their spaces, and this is mine. It's not very big, but let me show you around. So this is my office come study come everything. And as you can see, it is not a big room. I currently have the camera on full wide angle and it's not big at all. But if you come on in, round to the left, I've got my hi-fi and small LP collection. We have some of my toys on a shelf that's dangerously bowing. My main PC, which is a pimped out old Dell T7500. We have stuff and things, my old desoldering gun, sewing machine, more toys, random cans of stuff. That is kind of my console collection, I guess. Then we've got a small TV bolted to the wall. I've got into this bad habit of bringing home CRTs, and they're taking up a lot of space. But I wouldn't be without them, so that's okay. And if we keep circling around, and I step right back, you can see what I call the wall of toy. So this is most of my toy collection, and it's all up on these shelves here. And right down the bottom is my games along the bottom shelf, and it's all a complete mess. And we've got some ongoing projects. That's my Coco 3. There's actually an old, very dead Atari 65XE. We've got one, there's actually a tub behind that LCD and another tub full of random retro computing stuff. That's the C64 and 1541 you've been seeing lately. My 1701 jammed under the bench. And then under the bench is a whole bunch of extra storage because it's such a tiny room. And on my workbench, which is a complete disaster at the moment, I've been working on a TurboGrafx 16, but I've lost a whole lot of workbench space to my work computer, because I'm, like many, I'm working from home at the moment. So that's kind of it. As you see, it's a tiny little space. It's also full of a lot of stuff, and I tend to be a fairly messy worker. But that's it. Thanks for having a look, and stay safe.
There we go, Mr. Lurch's tour. If you don't already subscribe to his channel, you'll find a link in the pinned comment and the video description, so go and give him a sub. I'm kind of inspired by watching that because he unashamedly shows his space. He acknowledges that it's a mess, but it's his mess. It's his cave. It's his cavern. He loves it in there. I particularly like the Castle Grayskull because I had that as a kid with the trapdoor inside. Haven't seen one of those for years. And I like your T-shirt as well. And yeah, as I said, it's inspired me to show you a part of the cave that I've never shown people before, the storage room up in the loft. Well, we'll take a quick tour of it because it's a huge mess. I had great intentions for this space. And the idea was to kind of turn it into a museum space where everything was set up, even though it's up in the gables. It's a really awkward space for anyone to go up there. It would be nice to have the machines set up. And then it never quite happened. I wouldn't call it a dumping ground. It's just a storage space that I need to tidy up. So as with Mr. Lurch, I make no apologies. Let's take a tour of it. So here we are up in the loft. Actually, it doesn't look as messy as it did when I was up there. Maybe the camera helps a little bit, but you'll see lots of familiar things and things you haven't seen before. There's an Atari 400 there. I wasn't sure if that was a 400 or an 800, which got smashed up in the post, so that needs repairing. There's the BBC Micro that was resprayed recently under its dust cover, sitting on top of an Amstrad CPC 464 and 6128, as you do, being crushed by the BBC Micro. There is on the right there, that's the Packard Bell, my first ever 486 PC, sat next to a Yamaha CX5M, which I really need to do an episode on soon. There's the old, oh hang on, there's an Amiga 1000 down there. Really need to get down to refurbishing that. Look how filthy that keyboard is. That belongs to Mark. Thank you, Mark, if you're watching, but we need to get that sorted and do an episode. There's the old Soviet ZX Spectrum clones. We've got an Amiga corner over here. As with the rest of it, it needs tidying up. And under this blackout curtain, to try and look after them, we've got the Checkmate case. We've got an Amiga 4000, which needs a lot of TLC. Sat on top of a 1500. And on the right, we've got an Amiga 1200. Sat on top of an Amiga 500. And I have recently picked up an Amiga 600. And underneath there's a CD-TV. We've got the CD32 over here. So the Amiga collection is really coming together. We'll pop the cover back over it because I don't want them to yellow. And then there's another room over here which needs a lot of tidying up. But it's a lot better now all of those IBM PCs are out of there. We've got the Thompson MO5, a couple of Amstrads down there. They've featured on the channel. We've got some Pizza Box Apples, some LCs. There's the glorious Pioneer Laser Active and the Sharp 68000 there. An Acorn Phoebe case, a prototype machine that was never released, sat down there. That needs an episode. MSXs we haven't covered on the channel yet. I've got a couple of those, like the Yamaha. We've got that Canon one sat down there. So yeah, just wherever you look, there's stuff that either needs to be covered in an episode or tidied. And I did make an effort on the right here to organise all my games, and I thought this will be loads of space for all the games I've got. It wasn't, but let's show you what's on here. It is quite organised. We've got the CD32 section here. There's Zool. Some Mega CD games next to that. To the left, we've got MSX games. Quite a few, actually, considering I've never shown it on the channel. Alpha Beta Sane Monty. What else have we got? Loads of Commodore 64 games. There's about 2 shelves full of Commodore 64 games. The iconic Avenger case there. I don't get time to look at these enough. Over here we've got Amstrad and Spectrum games. Oh, it looks like I fell over there. There's that classic Bridget from Amstrad, the packing games, Popeye. And above that, more Amstrad games leading into ZX Spectrum games, I think. Yes, Ninja Massacre. And another classic there, Trapdoor. And then to the left of that, we've got all the BBC Micro games, all the Acorn Electron games. More games than I realised the BBC Micro actually had. And tucked away down there, we've got some Amstrad floppy disk games, 3-inch floppies. All of the Electron and Acorn Soft titles. And then I've got a bunch of video pack cartridges down here. I have a broken video pack I need to fix at some point, but it's reassuring to know that when I do, I've got a huge number of games for it. And a lot of the labels, the glue is just completely dried out. So I'm keeping those safe so that I might stick them back on the cartridges at some point. And I've even got a tiny collection of Auric 1 games. This is Xenon 1 for the Auric 1. 3D Maze and Breakout next to that. So at least we've got something to check an Auric 1 with if we ever get hold of one. And then on the bottom, there's some bigger box games, some Amiga games. I find a lot of the Amiga games just come as floppies. People discarded the boxes or they were just pirated. And of course, that was never enough space for all of the games. I've got boxes and boxes and boxes like this. These are, what have we got? PC. There was a ZX Spectrum Robocop there. Tomb Raider, that was mine back in the day. That is my original copy. Link's Stunt Island. Just so many games, which I haven't unpacked yet because I want to give them a proper shelf. You know, it's so much nicer to flick through them on the shelves like we just did than to have to go through them in boxes like this. So they really do deserve their own space, and they're going to get it. I just need to do made-to-measure shelving to put them all on. And tucked away there, we've got a Spectrum 128 version of Ghostbusters enhanced for the 128. I wonder what enhancements that brings us. That's my original game from back in the day, Need for Speed. Bunch of CD32 or Amiga CD magazine cover discs down there. There's just everywhere you look. More games, more boxes of stuff. Generally, this is how I get Amiga games, how they come to me. You know, they're not all pirated. You've got originals in there. It's just that people throw the boxes away. It's a real shame. And we got a few posters up on the walls there. From One Click Print, no less. That area was supposed to be, I'll just pause it, that area was supposed to be like an eBay area where I'd got too many spares, because I don't like to hoard things, where I'd got things that I didn't need that weren't donated, or I'd fixed donated things and I had spares left over. I was going to get them on eBay and I was going to have a whole packing system up there. Yeah, great intentions. It hasn't happened. And there's a Commodore PET down there. That will have an episode at some point. Just before we finish there, on the right, under that pile of stuff, you'll see a desktop PC with a speaker grill at the front, a Pioneer. That's a Pioneer official Apple Macintosh clone. It doesn't work. Really like to get that working. And yeah, we end with blood money on the wall there. So there you go. That is a tour of the messy part of the cave that nobody's got to see before. Yeah, I don't feel ashamed of it. I just know I need to clean it up, and I know how much better it can look. But also I know there's a limit to what I can actually do with that space. I would be much better served with another space like the cave, an actual proper room that I can line with desks, get all those systems set up on, have all of those games displayed nicely. But it's just money, you know. Nobody wants that space, just like nobody wants the basement down there. That's a big space up there, that storage space. And I'll tell you, it costs me £90 a month for that space, which is, you know, compared to what you would pay for storage elsewhere, it's nothing. It's just because it's so inconvenient. And I've tried to do what I can with that space up there. But hopefully, if the channel continues to grow, if the, you know, the Patreon and the advertising and the sponsorship, if it grows enough to say that I've got enough money to rent another room here or find some other solution to make space, then it is still my intention to make a workable space where you guys can turn up, have a coffee and sit and play on all of those systems. I do very much want the cave to be an open space. You know, it's not good enough hogging these systems where they sit under a blackout sheet up in the loft and don't get used. So anyway, I'm rambling now. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Mr. Lurch, again, go and sub to his channel. Thank you for showing us around your space. And see you tomorrow, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.